High in the mountains, near the border between France and Switzerland, stands one of Europe's most fascinating fortresses, Château de JOUX. Perched above a narrow pass in the Jura Mountains, this castle has guarded travelers, fought wars, held prisoners, and watched history unfold for more than 1,000 years. It's a fortress that grew layer by layer across centuries of conflict and power. Today we're exploring the incredible story behind this mountain stronghold. We're here for Burgundian trivia and the odd medieval coast. Charles the Bold was not in a good place when he travelled from La Rivière to JOUX at the end of July 1476. That year he had already lost 2 battles in Switzerland, those of Granson and Morat, and during that ordeal he had lost many men and most of his equipment. But why did he go to JOUX? He went there for a few hours and one meal, and he went there for a reason. It was not just on his way from one place to another. JOUX Castle lies in a very strategic position in the Franche-Comté, which was once ruled by the Dukes of Burgundy. The Franche-Comté, or Free County, by the way, is now part of the region Bourgogne-Franche-Comté. In the past it was a separate entity, not to be confused with the Duchy of Burgundy. JOUX Castle overlooks the narrow Cluse or gorge leading from the Franche-Comté into Switzerland. In ancient times there was already a toll station that controlled the mountain pass, while a wooden watchtower stood on the Rochette Plateau. The village at the bottom of the castle is called La Cluse-et-Mijoux. The hub city of Pontarlier is only a short distance away to the north. This was already covered in a previous video. JOUX was an important place. The first fortress here was likely built around the 11th century by the powerful lords of JOUX. Their goal was simple: to protect the route and collect tolls from merchants crossing the mountains. This easy-to-control narrow passageway between Burgundy and Switzerland was heavily used to transport goods and especially wool and precious salt. At the time the castle was small, little more than a stone keep and defensive walls, but the location made it incredibly valuable. Over the next 900 years, Château de JOUX expanded again and again, mostly towards the southwest, and the oldest part sits right on the northeast cliff. Instead of replacing the castle, each generation built new walls around the old ones. The result is a fortress with 5 defensive walls and 3 ditches. We will go back in time during this visit and start in the newest part, built after the German-French War of 1870-1871. During this time the lower court was replaced by a 5th defensive wall. The buildings are semi-underground for better protection against heavy artillery. In 1940 the castle was besieged by the Germans and had to surrender after 7 days. In 1954 the castle, or rather fortress, was opened to the public. After this we enter the part with the 4th defensive wall. The 4th wall was added during the time of Louis XIV. The additions and remodelings were designed in 1679 by Louis's famous military engineer and architect Vauban, whose work we've already encountered multiple times in previous videos. The buildings in the background are barracks with a powder tower next to them. Behind this is a drill ground which we're not able to see yet, but we will later in the video. Finally, we encounter a drawbridge with a gate that's not medieval, but we are slowly getting closer to the time of Charles the Bold. The 3rd defensive wall was added during the time of Emperor Maximilian. In 1507 he conquered the castle and handed the administration over to his daughter Margaret. There were some legal battles over this, but no worries, I'm not going to go into them here. On our right we can see a large artillery tower built in 1486. It was known as La Rondelle, but is now called Le Tour du Fer à Cheval, or the Horseshoe Tower, because of its shape. In 1410 the castle was in the hands of Guillaume de Vienne. After his death in 1434, the castle went to his son, also named Guillaume. Olivier de la Marche did not have a good word to say about this man. He called him a gambler and a big spender. In 1454, Guillaume was in debt and sold the castle to Philip the Good, Duke and Count of Burgundy. He appointed the Marquis of Rotelin as the captain of the castle. After the death of Philip, the castle passed on to his son Charles. But Charles had little interest in these castles, according to Philip's Wieland, and neglected their upkeep. Now we enter the medieval heart of the castle, the part Olivier de la Marche must have known when his father governed the castle during a short period in the 1430s. For the history of Olivier's stay here, I refer to the video about Pontarlier. Anyway, we are, I suppose, in the part Charles the Bold may have walked through when he came to eat here in 1476. This part contains the second and first defensive wall and the donjon, the lodgings of the lord of the castle. This is also the part that has the best overview of the mountain pass. In later years, the castle served as a state prison and a number of famous prisoners were locked up in this part. One of them was Mirabeau, a prominent figure of the French Revolution who was imprisoned here in 1775. His cell was in the Tour Mirabeau, which was named after him. JOUX Castle is undergoing major renovations nowadays, and the 15th century Tour Mirabeau was not accessible during our visit. The other medieval tower is the Grammont Tower, the oldest tower of the castle, likely built in the 13th century and adapted in the 15th century. We're going inside via the outside stairs. In this part one can visit the cell of Toussaint Louverture. Toussaint Louverture was a leader of the Haitian Revolution, a former enslaved man who became the most prominent general fighting to end slavery in the French colony of Saint-Domingue, modern Haiti. After defeating several European armies, he was captured by the French forces under Napoleon Bonaparte in 1802, and he was imprisoned in JOUX. He died here in his cell on the 7th of April 1803. We did visit his cell, but there was a large guided group in there taking a long time, so I didn't film any of it, unfortunately. Nearby we can encounter a much older ghost, that of Berthe of JOUX. Berthe was married to Amaury III, Lord of JOUX. In 1170 he left Berthe, who was pregnant, to go on a crusade in the Holy Lands. Years went by without Berthe hearing from her husband. Then one day a wounded knight appeared at the gates of the castle. His name was Aimé de Montfaucon. Aimé had joined Bertha's husband on his crusade, and he told her that Amory had died in the Holy Lands. Bertha was incredibly sad upon hearing this news, and she wandered through the surrounding forests. After a while, she returned to the castle, and over time fell in love with Aimé. They lived happily together until one day, shock horror, Amory appeared again. He was furious and ordered his men to hang Aimé in the forest in view of the castle. Amory imprisoned Bertha in the Garmot Tower, in a cell so small she could not even stretch her legs. From a window she could see the body of her lover being pecked at by ravens.
Son mari part en croisade. Voilà. Les semaines, les années. Oh ben dis donc.
Once outside, we're not finished yet. We're going to climb the rock on the other side and look at the JOUX castle from the Male fortress. Fort Male, also known as Fort Larmont, was built between 1845 and 1851. It offered additional defense to the JOUX fortress.